All right, awesome. So let's get started. And I'll invite you to come into child's pose, which is where I'm going to start. But you are more than welcome to come into any shape that does work for you, including like down or seated or whatever, just to kind of get connected, to get a sense of how you're feeling today. Tap in with the energy. And if you're taking child's pose with me, you can have your knees really close. You can have them a little wider, just whatever's comfortable for you today. You could have your arms out in front of you or maybe by your sides in a little embryo shape. Maybe closing your eyes and just starting to connect with the earth. Taking these first few moments just to feel into your body. Feel into your breath. Taking a moment to acknowledge the land that you're on and your relationship with that land, which is historical, cultural, and also intimate, immediate. And as we check in with our energy, that can mean a lot of different things. Part of it can mean, how am I responding to the natural world around me? It can also mean mood. There might be something a little more spiritual or esoteric in that for you as well. Just whatever that is, meet it as it is. Our practice is to work with it, not against it. So if you haven't already, you may want to start your Ujjayi pranayama, that little whispering sound at the back of the throat that comes in when the soft palate lifts with the core. Inhales allow the ribs to lift and widen. Exhales connect to core and also earth to ground. When we breathe Ujjayi, there's fundamentally a movement to it. There's a rise and fall. We can talk about that in terms of the apanas, the winds. Inhales a rising energy, exhales an earthing, downward flowing energy. So just when this starts to feel like you could move with it, just allow that. So I'm coming, for example, into cat and cow on my hands and knees, but that could also be done in a seat. Maybe there's a different way that you're noticing you want to move. You could do this with your eyes closed. It really doesn't matter what it looks like. We're just starting to work the breath and the movement in together. Just noticing the different parts of your body, different parts of your spine, what's feeling a little tighter, what's feeling more open. And again, just how the energy is moving through. And again, we're sort of coming out of a long weekend, so you might just be noticing that that affects your energy too. So just noticing how that feels. It's not right or wrong, just meeting yourself as you are. And eventually we'll come into downward dog from here, just keeping that same intention of kind of gently feeling into our bodies. So that could mean bending one knee at a time. It could mean breathing in stillness. That's always an option. It could mean swaying your hips. In your downward dog, I'd love for you to just have your fingers really nice and spread and your elbows just soft, so not really bent. but soft enough that you can kind of deepen your shoulders into their sockets and relax your neck. The knees should be at least a little bit bent. That helps to tip the tailbone up to the sky, working the weight into the legs and out of the wrists and shoulders. And that's something that for me took maybe 7 years to start to feel like that was easy. Downward dog was a challenging one for me for a long time. 7 years might be an exaggeration, but it took time. And now I love it. When you're ready, you can walk your feet to your hands, coming into a standing forward bend, just your favorite one. Lately, I really like elbows resting on bent knees. I find I can pull my shoulders back a little bit and really let my neck kind of hang and relax and realign itself. You could also hold opposite elbows. You could have fingertips on the ground or blocks. And again, here, your knees could be as bent as you like, just not locked. And again, similar to downward dog, that allows your tailbone to tip up slightly and to take the work out of the lower back. So that ideally this feels good. And again, movement is welcome here, bending one knee at a time or being still. And I'm certainly finding after my weekend, it just feels really good to move. Sort of all parts of my body want some attention today. And again, in your own time, we'll roll up if that works for you. So you can bend your knees nice and deep, lean back into your heels, and curl one vertebrae at a time. If you prefer to walk your hands up your legs or come up a different way, that's fine. Just kind of finding your Tadasana, which I like to think of as the standing witness pose. Rooting your feet into the earth, feeling that energy rising through the center of your body, not necessarily just the front, but really the core, the center, right through the crown of your head. Reconnecting to your breath. And let's flow. Next time you inhale, reach your arms up to the sky. Exhale, dive over your legs to the earth. Nice generous bend to the knees. Halfway lift, almost like a back bend. Pull your heart forward. And then step your right foot back. I usually like the knee down for these first ones, but you could always keep it lifted. Heart and hands rise as you inhale, low lunge, and then downward facing dog, connecting your palms, step back. Come forward to a plank on or off your knees. You could absolutely do cat and cow here. Otherwise, you can come down to your belly and take a cobra, pointing the toes, rolling the shoulders back, lifting the heart, and then back to downward facing dog from there. Okay, the right leg is going to rise on an inhale, so don't rush. And use your whole exhale to step that foot through. So it helps to lift up the left heel and even lean a little bit to the left. Coming into your lunge, from me it's a low lunge here. And on the exhale to the top of your mat, just gently stepping forward. Lengthen halfway. And on your exhale, fold. Bend your knees, look forward, rising all the way up with a nice flat spine. And then all the way down again as you exhale. Halfway lift, lengthening forward. Left foot steps back. On your inhale, lifting the heart, gently pressing the hips forward, and then downward facing dog as you exhale. Connect the palms, step back. Roll forward to your plank. You can use your knees or not. Maybe you're doing a little push-up there. Maybe you're going all the way down to the ground, and then you can pull through to upward dog or cobra. I'm taking strange cobra because I like that a lot right now. And then back to downward dog as you exhale. Left leg is going to rise on your inhale. Again, take your time. Lift that right heel nice and high to help you step the foot all the way through. Coming into your lunge, inhaling. And then forward fold as you exhale to the top of your mat. Lengthen up halfway and fold. Bend your knees, look forward, rising all the way up. And as you exhale, bring the hands together in front of the heart. That's one complete cycle. Let's begin another one. Inhale, rising up. And diving. So ideally you're following your own breath here. You could be going faster, slower than me. Halfway lift. Usually when I really pay attention to my breath, I go slower. Right foot back. Inhaling. And downward dog. Taking your favorite variation of vinyasa, or just the one that works for you right now. Lowering as you exhale, or a little push-up. Inhaling to your back bend, cobra, cow pose, upward dog. Then returning to downward dog as you exhale. Right leg will rise on your inhale. And though we're moving dynamically with each breath, that doesn't have to mean that we're rushing. We can really take our time with each transition. And if you need an extra breath somewhere, just take it, no problem. Forward fold as you exhale. Lengthen. And melt. And then the knees rising all the way up. And diving all the way down. Lengthen. And left foot. Inhaling. And downward dog. Take your vinyasa, inhale. And exhale. Inhale, back bend that works for you today. Downward dog. Left leg to the sky. And through. Inhale. And forward bend. Lengthen. And fold. Bend the knees, rising all the way up. Hands to the heart, take a breath. Let's flow through one more time, just really getting that blood flowing, reaching the arms up. And dive. Lengthen. And right foot. Inhale. Downward dog. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Downward dog. Right leg. And through. Inhale. And forward bend. Halfway lift. And fold. All the way up. And all the way down. Lengthen. And left foot. Down dog, your variation of vinyasa, which might change each time we move through. Left leg will rise. No rush. Forward bend. And fold. Rise up. Hands to heart. Maybe taking a lotus mudra here, opening the centers of the palms. You've got the thumbs and pinkies touching. A gesture of receiving and offering. Just taking a moment to feel. And we'll keep in mind if it's still quite hot where you are, exhaling out the mouth helps to release any heat that we've been building. Keeping the heat in, we keep the lips closed. And you may remember Shitali is especially cooling, inhaling through pursed lips or a rolled tongue. And then the exhale is with a closed mouth. So just taking a moment to regulate in the way that works for you here. And then let's take the feet a little bit wider apart and turn the toes out. We're gonna come towards a squat, okay? So let's inhale and then carefully bend the knees, stick your bum back and come down. So there are different ways to do this. Okay, you might be sitting on a block. You might need something wedged underneath your heels if they're lifted, or you might be sitting right down on your bum with your feet just a little bit wider. You can bring the palms together if that works for you, so that the elbows just gently press apart. Draw the shoulders down your back and lift your heart. Just gently opening into the pelvis region, the lower back, sort of lower chakras. And you can stay right here, or maybe experiment with a little flump. So you can kind of release your hands and your head forward, so you're allowing your back to round. Keep pressing your knees out just gently. Make sure there's no pain in your knees. You could, again, do this seated on the ground with your feet a bit wide. And if it feels good, you can rock your head a little from side to side. I find this one's so nice for me when I'm feeling a lot of tension in my lower back, or really anywhere along my spine. If this is feeling really good, you could even interlace your fingers around behind the back of the head and just gently add to that release, but don't yank or pull super hard. You want to be gentle here. Stay within that realm of what feels good to you. And then come through center, gently release your bum to the earth if it's not already, and let's roll down onto our backs. If you're pregnant, just roll to your side first, then onto your back. If you're okay to just roll down, you can hold your knees and softly release your spine to the earth. Take a moment to relax here. You can open your arms up. It's okay if your feet are as wide as your mat, which mine are right now. We'll adjust that in a moment. But for now, just gently pelvic tilting. Arch your back slightly so that your tailbone rolls forward and your belly expands. Then as you exhale, gently draw in your pelvic floor and your core and flatten your back to the ground. And just do that 2 more times. So inhaling to roll your pelvis forward, softening your pelvic floor and your belly. And then gather in, engage, flatten the back. 1 more time. So do a little bit of work into the core. And if you're noticing that this is right for you, this is feeling good, this feels safe, you can absolutely keep working with the pelvic tilts. Otherwise, let's just release the spine to neutral. So there should be just a little bit of curve underneath the back. Everyone's different in terms of what that is. We'll bring the feet underneath the knees, so about inner hips distance apart. Inhale, and as you exhale, keep the spine the same, but gently engage the pelvic floor and imagine that you're trying to hug your belly button up towards your spine and up kind of under your ribs to your heart. You can keep your head down or interlace your fingers around behind the back of your head and lift your shoulder blades up off the mat. So it's just going to add to the work into the core, okay? And then we'll start here just checking out the marching. So as you inhale, you can lift your right foot, and as you exhale, just gently put it back down. And then left foot, and put it back down. You could switch the breath here too. It would be fine if you exhale, just the knee lifted. There's lots of space for your belly here, so it doesn't matter as much. But you'll notice that when you exhale, that's going to be the moment when it's a bit easier to engage your core. And we also exhale when we're doing kind of more compressive movements, because it helps to release the intra-abdominal pressure. Okay, so let's just try that 1 more time, then we'll just see how it feels. And then just relax for a moment. You can let the knees fall apart if you like, or together. Relax your head and take a couple deep breaths into your belly, just noticing how that feels. And what I'd love for you to be aware of is kind of waking up the core muscles and just noticing how your back feels. And we're going to do another round, and you can do that same marching if you're noticing like that works for me, that feels good, I'm comfortable there. I'll give you an option to go a little bit more compressive, among other things. So let's set the feet up again, neutral back, inhale. As you exhale, find that pelvic floor, find that belly hugging in, optionally lifting the shoulder blades up off the mat. If you're coming in with me into the more intense one, you'll want to have the chest a little bit lifted here. So you can keep your feet down and do the marching as we just did, or bring your knees in close. Okay, so from here, you're going to inhale, and as you exhale, extend your right leg out. Okay, and then bring it back in, and then the left leg out. Okay, so there's an argument really for breathing in the opposite way. So I like to exhale as my leg goes out, because for me, that's the harder part. And I like that when I exhale, it's kind of, it adds that little bit of extra to the core. But you could do it the other way as well. So it's fine with me if you want to kind of explore that. So the leg can go pretty low down, but it doesn't have to. You could kind of aim it in more of a diagonal, depending on how this is feeling for your core and hip flexors. Whatever you're doing, including the marching or even the pelvic tilts, what I want you to just be thinking about, the important thing here is that belly button drawing in and up. So we're not letting it kind of pop forward, but whichever movement you're doing to activate that is perfect. It's just whatever works for you. One thing I would recommend is that you flare the toes wherever you are, because your core actually starts in the roots of your toes. And when you activate the toes, it just helps the core to work so much more. Okay, you guys are doing awesome. I'm going to do one more round each side. Last one for me here. And when you've completed on the two sides, when you're feeling like you've got some work there, let's relax. The knees can fall together or apart, arms can be open, and just taking some time to consciously relax your belly and your pelvic floor so you can let go of ujjayi. And again, if you're working with that heat, opening the mouth can help to cool your body down a bit. Okay, let's release that. So you can keep your bum down, or you can put something underneath your hips if you'd like. If my low block was closer to me, I would use that, but I'm actually just going to go without for now. So I'm going to bring my left knee in towards my chest and extend my right leg out long, and then hug the knee a little bit wide towards the shoulder. So if you have a nice little low prop underneath the pelvis, you're just going to feel the stretch a little bit more in your hip flexors, but you'll definitely feel it anyway here. This pose is called Apanasana. Apanasana means the downward flowing energy pose. I've heard it called wind release pose because it can stimulate the digestive organs, but I prefer Apanasana, downward flowing energy. It does mean downward flowing wind, but it doesn't necessarily mean what that sounds like. When you're ready, we'll switch sides, bringing in the right knee, extending the left leg out long. Maybe you've got a little prop there, maybe not. It's definitely working for me without the prop. Just taking the knee a bit wide. You've got a nice active, extended left heel. Breathe into your belly here. And then when you're ready, we can release. I'm going to take both my legs up to the sky and give them a little shake. Okay, and then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog and take vinyasa. So you can rock and roll forward and back along your spine. If you're comfortable, you could even jump back into chaturanga or a bent knee downward facing dog and move through that way. Okay. If you're pregnant, you're not going to roll or jump necessarily. You would probably roll to your side first. I'm going to do a little hybrid, so I'm going to roll, but then I'm going to just come to hands and knees. And then take your vinyasa as you like it. After the core, I just find that little bit of a back bend usually feels really nice, whichever one you're doing. I'm in a strange cobra kind of mood today. Back to downward dog. And then we'll come forward. So you can certainly walk. You can lift your heels, bend your knees, look forward, and hop lightly again. Probably not if you're pregnant or have lower back pain or just don't want to. And then I'd recommend rolling up. Take your time, use that core that we just stimulated. Grounding your feet into the earth, finding balance. Taking a moment to check in. Okay, and then lift your toes, spread them apart, reconnect them to the earth. Okay, lean into your left foot and then pick up your right knee and hug onto it. So kind of like we were just doing on the floor a moment ago. That's sort of like a standing Apanasana. Nice firm left leg, hugging the knee in, heart nice and tall, shoulders back. Stay here or interlace your fingers around the back of your thigh and extend your leg. Stay here, see if you can release your hands for a moment and just see how pleasant that is. Hello, core, again. Okay, and then wherever you are, bend the leg again, extend it back behind you. We're not gonna be here too long, so you can extend your arms forward as well if your lower back is okay with that, kind of elongating. And then just gently land back into warrior one. Nice work. So we've got the feet hips distance apart, the back heel is down, hips are square. We're lengthening the tailbone down as the back leg lengthens. Ribs are squaring forward, arms rising, shoulders soft. Think of drawing your front ribs in so that it's almost like you're lengthening from the back. Not so much thinking about a back bend. Really press that right heel down and either stay here or flip your right palm, hold the wrist with your left hand and softly side stretch to the left, which I'm hoping feels even better. Keep the tailbone nice and heavy, back leg nice and straight and strong. Kind of lifting your right rib up. Inhale, come up through center, straighten that front leg, bring your hands to your hips, hug the elbows back, and let's fold forward. You're welcome to use your blocks here or just fingers on the ground. You might also find that you need to adjust your stance a little bit, for example, shortening it or widening it. Okay. Lengthen your heart forward, left hip back, and as you exhale, gently melt. Depending on how you're feeling today, you might stay relatively still here or you might flow. Inhaling to lift the heart, lengthening the spine, and exhaling just to deepen into it gently. I usually find that little flow feels really good for me. Sometimes I want to be still, but usually I like the little flow. Really using that Ujjayi pranayama, connecting with your breath. Okay, and then lengthen your heart forward. I'm going to give you two options. You might want to take a quick peek at what I'm going to do. So option one, I'm going to take my right fingertips or palm a little wider, and I'm just going to explore a bit of an open twist here, reaching the left arm up to the sky. Okay. Option two, I'm going to plant my right palm, and it can go nice and wide. And then my back foot, I'm going to step back and flip onto the outer arch, step my left foot behind me, and take wild thing. Okay. So either of those is perfect, whichever one works for you. Wild thing is a bit like side plank with a back bend. So I've got a straight right leg. Okay, and then everybody back to downward dog, and then do what you need to do. So child's pose, vinyasa, cat and cow is a great vinyasa, modifying for what works for you. Cat and cow is also a great, like, I'm not sure what to do. Cat and cow is great for a lot of things. Let's take a moment just checking in with your breath, checking in with your energy. If you need to exhale out the mouth. When you're ready, the right leg is going to go up to the sky. And I'll just invite you to open the hips here if that feels good for you. I've always really liked that feeling of opening the hips. Sometimes I like actually straightening the right leg and pointing the toes. I find that's even more of a nice opening. And then on an exhale, we're going to come into warrior two. So step your foot through, spin the back heel down, rising up. So this is a wider stance in warrior one. The knee is right over the ankle, and the front heel is probably in line with the back arch. Arms open, shoulders soft, maybe looking forward. Notice what your front ribs are doing. Mine have a tendency to flare out, so I just want to hug them in gently. And just make sure I have that length in my back body as well. Inhale, and then come into side angle. So bring your elbow to your thigh and take your left bicep. It could be alongside your ear. You could have the hand on your hip. Take a moment to press the hips a little bit forward and just thinking of turning your heart open to the sky. Sometimes I like to hold the back of my skull here. I just find that feels really nice on my shoulder and it allows my neck to relax a bit. You can stay here. We can add a little neck release. So you can take that left hand and take it around behind your back, just wherever is comfortable. This could also be hand on the hip. Hug the shoulders back. Get a little longer through your spine, tuck your chin in, and then begin to release the weight of your head towards the earth. So part of the key here is keep pressing down into your right elbow. So you're not falling into your shoulder. You're actually lifting up out of it, but then the neck releases, okay? And then if you tilt your chin forward, kind of away from your collarbone, you'll feel those front of the neck muscles release. And if you look down, you're gonna get more into the back of your neck. So feel free to experiment. Gorgeous. Okay, gently look down, unwind your hands, bring your back knee down, and widen your right foot out towards the long edge of your mat. So your hands would be on the inside of your front leg, and you're more than welcome to use your blocks here. So I'm gonna untuck my back toes, but I wanna press the top of the foot into the earth. I'm also gonna turn my right toes a little bit out to the right. Okay, let's take a moment to get nice and tall, pull the shoulders down the back. And you might wanna just bring the left ear to the left shoulder for a moment, just to balance out where it's going to be a little while before we get to the other side of the neck stretch. So just giving it a little bit of balance before we go on. Nice. And then when you're ready, you can look forward, maybe come down a little bit lower onto your elbows or the blocks, maybe winging the knee open so that we're coming onto the outer arch of the foot. Maybe some of you can pick up the back knee. That's going to be a different experience with the toes tucked under. With the toes untucked, just continue to press into the top of the foot gently. Awesome. Let's take a nice deep breath, maybe exhaling out the mouth. Okay, when you're ready, gently come back up to your hands. Ease off on your hips. Walk your foot in towards the midline just until the heel is in line with the hip, and then softly straighten that front leg. You can keep a bit of a bend in the knee. Lengthen your heart forward. Optionally fold, and again, you can be in the flow of this if you'd like, or just be in stillness. Deepening. And out. Keeping the foot flexed, gently drawing that right hip back. Okay, and then when you're ready, look forward, bend into that front leg, and just softly step back to the top of your mat. Lengthen up halfway. Exhale to fold. And let's just take a moment to let the head and the neck relax. You can do that just hanging down, or again, you can take elbows to bend knees if that works for you. Just gonna give your head a little shake. And then again, we'll roll up. And I like to use the rolling up to find the core. So I like to think about really pressing into my heels, kind of gathering up along the front of my spine, allowing the crown of the head to rise. You might be able to just be still here. You might find that your body wants a little bit of movement or fidgeting. I find I often hear yoga teachers say, you know, don't fix your shirt or your hair. I think you should fix your shirt or your hair if you need to. I think that you should do what you need to do. Okay, lift up your toes, spread them apart, reconnect them. Pour your weight into your right leg, find that core connection, and then lift up your left knee. Give it a nice hug. Both feet pretty active. Pull the shoulders down, lift your heart. Okay, optionally, straighten the leg holding the back of the thigh. That's going to activate the psoas a little bit. And if you really want to challenge, you can release your hands. Keep breathing. Bend the knee again, and then extend back, reaching forward. So just taking warrior 3 kind of as a transition. So we're not here for too long, maybe a breath. And then on an exhale, softly step back to your warrior 1. Good. So we've got a nice hips distance apart stance with the legs here. Pressing that back heel into the earth, working the leg towards straight, hips squaring. So it's kind of the heaviness of the back of the pelvis that helps us to get this lovely stretch in the hip flexor. Front ribs soft, reaching the arms up, shoulders soft as well. So think of lifting from the sternum, not the shoulders. Left glute ideally is engaged, which helps to release the hip flexor as well. Kind of breathing into the length of the back body again without lifting the shoulders. So I've got my elbows just a bit bent here. If all this is working for you, you can flip that left palm up, hold on to the wrist, and softly side stretch to the right. Keep that left heel heavy. So good, up through center. Softly hands to hips, hug the elbows back, lift the heart, and then fold forward. So again, feel free to adjust your stance. Feel free to use your blocks or Tupperwares or whatever you've got. You might need to shorten your stance a little bit or just adjust it in some way. It should be pretty comfortable to have your hips squared forward. Then again, lengthen your heart forward. And as you exhale, fold. And you can stay in stillness in any part of that range of movement, or you can keep flowing if that's feeling good for your body today, your spirit, your energy. If it's possible for you to close your eyes, go ahead and see if you can just focus on your breath. Let your breath lead. And the movement of your body can follow. So when we start to kind of trust the rhythm of the breath, the body can move almost in its own way. It's like we don't have to think about it so much. I start to trust that the body often knows what it needs. Awesome. Okay, from here, let's lengthen forward. And then again, you can take the left hand wide. You could do that on a block for sure. And just take a little bit of an open twist, which is a nice kind of release into the outer hip. Just a nice little twist there. Or you can plant that left palm. I would kick the left foot back a little bit more, fall onto the outer arch, right foot comes behind, wild thing pose. And I like right bicep alongside the ear, and I have a micro bend in my left elbow, so I'm not kind of jamming into my shoulder there, lifting up out of it. And then back to downward dog, and then see what you need. If you'd like vinyasa, if you'd like a rest in child's pose. And again, that vinyasa can be, you know, there's sort of a structure to it, but the actual shapes you're doing are highly negotiable. It's really more about the breath. And again, just taking a moment to check in, to reset. Maybe decide if you need to release a little bit of heat from your body. And then we'll find our downward dog. So we've just got our last little standing sequence here. The left leg is going to go up towards the sky when you're ready. You can go ahead and roll the hips open. And if you did on the other side, you could experiment with straightening that leg, pointing the toes. It's sort of like an upside down side bend. And then warrior two, stepping the foot through, spinning the back heel down, opening the arms up. Just finding your alignment, finding that nice long stance. Much more turned to the long edge of the mat, though the hips can be slightly tilted forward. Softening the shoulders. And I like to just feel into the energy of warrior two, which is so powerful. And it really takes up space. So just allow yourself for a moment to take up some space, to be large, to allow that to feel powerful. Beautiful. Okay, when you're ready, inhale, and then bring your elbow to your thigh. You can take your bicep alongside your ear or hand to hip. And for me, the juice of this pose is really on the side stretch of it. So I like to press my back heel into the mat, hug my front ribs in, pressing the hips a little forward, and there's a slight twist of the heart to the sky. And again, for me, I like to hold the head with the right arm and really just lengthening that elbow away. And as I pull my front ribs in, I can feel that lovely stretch almost into the back body, side, back. Nice. Okay, you can stay there, or let's do the little neck release. So you can bring your hand to your hip or let it wrap around. And just think of the shoulder kind of coming down the back and really actively pressing into the left elbow. So you're isolating your shoulders and your neck a little bit here, okay? And then you can gently release the weight of your head towards the earth and just experiment a little bit. So again, if you pull your chin away from your collarbone, you'll feel the front of the neck muscles a bit more. If you look down, you're going to be more in the back of the neck. Just make sure that you can't sort of feel your shoulder on your cheek. You want to really be lifting up out of the shoulder, but then relaxing the muscles of the neck. That's sort of the trick of it. It's hard to sometimes isolate the two parts. Okay, take your time. When you're ready, look down. Allow your hands to come down, your back knee to come down. Widen your left foot out a little bit towards the long edge of the mat. You can have your hands on the floor or blocks. You can untuck the toes. Just take a moment to pull the shoulders down and then bring the right ear to the shoulder. Just evening out the neck. Okay, And then play around a little bit. So you can come down onto your elbows, for example. You can turn the left toes out to the left slightly. You can angle onto the outer arch of your left foot so that the knee wings open. You can tuck the back toes under and lift up the back knee. That's going to be quite a different feel for me. That's a little more muscular, a little bit less about the opening of the hip. Maybe there's something else that feels right for you to do here. And the two sides might be a little bit different from each other as well. So honoring what you feel rather than necessarily exactly what you did on the first side. So good. And then when that feels complete for you, just taking your time, you can gently sort of climb up. If you're low, ease up on your hips, walk your foot back in. So it's roughly in line with your hip. And then you can straighten the leg. So ideally your back hip is just right over your knee here. Okay. Lengthening your heart forward, flexing that foot. Maybe folding, maybe not. Maybe staying in stillness, maybe working with that little bit of a flow. It's okay to close your eyes and focus more on what you feel than what you look like. So often the body will tell us, not every time, but a lot of the time, it will tell us, you know, this doesn't feel quite right, or I need more space here, or this feels a lot better than that. There's so much wisdom and really safety in just paying attention and allowing ourselves to be unique in the way our bodies work. Lovely. Okay. When you're ready, you can bend into your front leg and just gently step yourself forward. Take your time. Lengthen your heart forward and then fold. And again, just give your neck a little bit of room. Maybe giving it a shake. Maybe resting your elbows on your thighs or hands down. And then again, we can roll up. Take your sweet time. Shoulders onto the back. Just taking a moment to connect. Okay, so I do want to fit in just a little bit of play. We've been playing obviously the whole time, but I just want to offer a little inversion that some of you might enjoy. Now, if you don't want to take this inversion, that's totally fine. If you want to stay a bit more active, you can work in downward dog, three-legged dog, for example. You can also just come and lay on the mat, and we'll meet you there in just a little while. We're not going to spend too long with this. But if you want to play a little bit, this is a variation of handstand. And it kind of works with the action that we've been doing of hugging the knee into the chest, okay? And sometimes it can be a little bit fun. So I'll just show you what it looks like. And you can decide what you want to do. And I'll talk you through the stages, and you can always stay in the stage that works for you. So I'm coming into a downward dog, and in this particular variation, I actually would work a little bit away from the wall. I'm going to go with about a foot or so right now, and I might enhance that later. So downward dog, just working on that downward dog alignment, walking the feet in a little bit closer. Ideally, my shoulders are coming over my wrists, and my shoulders are nice and deep so I can comfortably look at the ground. I'm going to lift a leg, okay, plug it in, bend into my standing leg, and then I want to come into that shape that we've been doing all class. So the knee into the chest, okay, into the chest. So if you kind of get up to the wall, here's where you can play a little bit. It's like an arrow. You can find a little bit of hang time with your legs asymmetrical like that. And if that's working for you, you might find, oh, I see, okay. Because I have the legs a little separated, I can move a bit away from the wall and work with that hang time. So again, we want to plug in that extended leg, Then the standing one, try to keep looking at the ground. And then you can play with just how your balance changes when you've got one knee in towards the chest. My shoulders kind of go up and you want to pull them back, look down, and just play with the feeling of balance a little bit there. Okay, when you need a break or when you're done, just standing forward fold is nice. Nice. Yeah, that's it, Danielle. So really knee in, that's it. And then point your extended leg, toes, that's it. Like an arrow about to fly. You got it, there it is. Nice. Okay. So we'll meet laying on our backs. As usual, I'm running out of time. So feel free to keep playing if you're just finding like, wow, that feels really good and it's fun, I want to keep doing it. Just meet us when you're ready. Okay, so again, if you're coming out of that handstand, for me, it's like a lot of blood flow shifting. So I would take a moment just in that forward fold. And then from there, I would set my bum down and lay on my back. Okay, if you're pregnant, just rolling to your side first. Okay, and then in any comfortable laying down position, we can all reach our arms up to the sky, optionally legs up too. Make soft fists with your hands and just gently circle the wrists. Handstand can obviously be pretty intense on the wrists. And it's nice for all of us to do a little wrist release. And then reverse the direction. And then release the hands and kind of twinkle the fingers, maybe the toes too. And then gently release your feet to the earth. Shift your hips a little bit to the left, pick up your knees again and come into a twist. The knees are going to go to the right, arms open up. If this particular twist doesn't work for you, a couple things you can do. Block between the knees, or you can take more of a deer twist, which is what I usually would do when I was pregnant, just to give my belly a little bit more space. You can look away from your knees and just soften. These supine twists are cooling for the nervous system, calming. If you are feeling a little overheated right now, you can exhale out your mouth. Just kind of soften into the earth. And then gently engage the belly, come back through center, feet to the floor. Pick up your hips, shift them a little bit to the right, and then knees pick up and go to the left. Arms open, you can look away from your knees here as well. So the reason we do that shifting of the hips is to make sure there's a natural curve in the lower back. And one of the things that's kind of nice about this is usually if you don't have that, you'll kind of notice right away it's not very comfortable. We want to twist with a little bit of an inward curve in the lower back. Pretty much every time, most times. And again, adjusting if you need to the legs or even the arms. There shouldn't be any tingling or pain. This should be quite comfortable. If you're getting anything funny in your shoulder, your fingers, you can just rest your hand on your ribs. Usually that takes care of it. You can breathe a little more into your belly. Breathing through the nose or the mouth, either is fine. When you're ready, gently engaging the belly, bringing your knees back into center. You can give them a little hug, rock from side to side. And you can take this into happy baby, which is often quite nice after a twist. Depends on how you feel about it. For some people, it's quite calming, quite delightful. For others, it's a little intense. So See how that feels for you. We've got the soles of the feet up to the sky. I'm holding my toes. You could also hold your ankles or your outer arches or inner arches, whatever is accessible. And a little rock from side to side is usually nice on the lower back. Sometimes I like rocking, sometimes I don't. And then when that feels complete for you, you can release your legs, give them a little shake, and then make your journey toward Shavasana. So if that means there's something left in your practice that you need, that you just don't feel complete without, please feel free to take that, whatever it is, if it's a wiggle or a full pose or whatever, that's fine. You can meet us in Shavasana when you're ready. And if you want to set up your Shavasana in some way, like with a bolster under the knees, for example, that's lovely. If you're pregnant, if it's comfortable to lay on your back, that should be fine. If it's not, just lay on your side or prop up your back. You can use a little pillow or something under your head if you like. And I'm just going to give you a little self-adjustment that you can do once you do get into Shavasana. And this applies if you're laying on your back, legs at the wall is laying on your back. Okay, so just if you want to, whenever you're ready, you can kind of join me here. So I'm laying on my back. I'm just going to take my fingertips to my upper back on either side of my spine, and I'm just going to drag the fingers up along the right and the left of my spine into my occipital ridge, right at the base of my skull. I might even lift my head a little bit and lengthen it, and then place it back down on the earth. And I could do that 3 times. We used to call this one the skull pull. So this is an adjustment that we used to do when we had in-person practices for those that wanted it. Just gently lengthening the skull is so nice just for realigning. It's nice and calming for the nervous system. Nice little massage for the neck. So just taking that as many times as you'd like. When you feel ready to rest, you can release your arms. May or may not find you want to move your head a bit. And then all you have left to do is receive. So taking a moment to notice how you're feeling and how your energy may have shifted during the course of our practice. And if you're feeling the call to stay and you have the time, please feel more than welcome to do that. Otherwise, you can start to deepen your breath. Bring some small movements into your body wherever feels most right. Eventually gathering your knees in and curling over to one side. in your own time, pressing up to a seat. And my offering for today is to take that lotus mudra. Again, here you could also have hands on the heart or just whatever feels right for you. Gently bow your mind to your hands. Just taking a moment to honor and acknowledge you, whatever it took for you to get here to your practice today. To honor and acknowledge the long and complex lineage of teachers that is with us. Honor and acknowledge the sacredness of the land and our relationship with it. Thank you for sharing that practice with me.